Hello, my name is Austin Nguyen, and I'll be covering my presentation slide over the Zika virus. And then here's some background information on the virus itself. So it was first discovered in Uganda in 1947 and later in humans in 1952. It was actually first discovered by the rhesus monkey in the Zika forest. And then, as we all may know, it is later transmitted through vectors like mosquitoes. And then large outbreaks began in 2007, and there was a huge spread to the Americas that I will discuss more later on to this presentation. And also a leading discovery of its link to microcephaly in newborns and congenital Zika syndrome in adults. So microcephaly, it is a deformation in the head, which appears small and a little oddly shaped, but it is one of the links to Zika virus, as I will go more in depth about in this presentation, and also other transmission routes as well. So the infectious agent, as I said before, it is through the Aedes species and mainly the Aedes aegypti mosquito. And some characteristics of the infectious agent right here that I do have is that it is a type of flavirus, which is generally just any group of RNA viruses. And other transmission routes include like sexual contact, mother to fetus, and blood transfusion, which is why pregnant women are at high risk for the Zika virus as well. And other names as well for the virus that I want to include in this presentation as well is like ZIKV, is Zika fever, Zika virus disease, and a very uncommon one that I had listed in the very first slide is Zika syndrome, which is also referred to, just not as common. And then here's the taxonomy of the virus itself. I would attempt to try to say all these names, but I don't think I'd be able to. So I included the side so y'all can see the taxonomy of it. And then here's transmission. So the transmission is spread primarily through vectors, and the virus does enter the skin, but the spread is primarily through a bite of infected Aedes mosquitoes. And other modes of transmission as well that I did include is sexual transmission and blood transfusion. Pregnant individuals infected with Zika virus can also pass on the virus to the developing fetus. And the virus itself can be spread through any sexual contact like vaginal, anal, oral, and blood transfusions from like any infected donor as well. And then some signs and symptoms that I did want to include as well is that it is a low-grade fever, macular-papular rash, joint pain, and conjunctivitis. And some infections of the disease as well is that up to 80% of infected individuals experience no symptoms actually, and then generally resolve within 7 to 10 days of receiving the infection. And then here's some diagnosis and the image that I want to include as well to show like microcephaly, especially in newborns. So as we can see in this image right here, the head does appear smaller than usual, and we can definitely see that right here. It is also deformed as well. I guess you can't really tell in this angle, but there is some head deformity as well. And also microcephaly also doesn't just change the formation of the head, or yeah, the formation of the head, but also like it can also cause like joint abnormalities and all that as well. And then just like the symptoms before that I listed before, just like mild fevers, rashes, joint pains, headaches, and then some clinical testings that actually help diagnose the virus as well is molecular tests and serological tests. So some recent events right here that I did want to include as well. This image right here doesn't really depict these recent events, but it kind of shows you like the densely populated areas where Zika virus does infect the environment. So right here, I have Argentina recorded 730 cases as of September of 2025. And all this data right here is actually since 2018. So it's 2018 and then as of September of 2025 of this year. So Argentina, they had recorded 730 cases as of September 2025, and then Brazil actually had one of the highest actually still currently is thousands of cases still recorded. And surprisingly enough, the United States has no cases recorded as of September of 2025. And then any areas with high populations of mosquitoes are at high risk for the spread of Zika virus. So as we can see, mainly a lot of like the tropical and subtropical regions, as we can kind of look in the picture right there, they are infected by Zika virus more than the other densely, or more than the other areas as well of the region. And that's just because the mosquitoes favor those environments a little bit more. So here's some historical perspective as well. Just kind of like what I had said before, it was discovered by the rhesus monkey in the Zika forest, identified by the Rockefeller in Uganda. And actually, a fun fact was that it was founded by the Scottish scientist named Alexander John Haddo. And these are just some major outbreaks that had happened in 2007, and the Pacific outbreak in 2013 and 14. And then the global crisis, actually, which had one of the highest, was 2015 to 16, which was also due to congenital birth defects and neurological complications. So here's some future outlooks that I included as well. So we have climate change, travel-related importation risks, rising temperatures and fluctuations. So as we know, like climate change, like whichever environment like favors mosquitoes more, are actually should be surveillance more, which is why I include the strong surveillance of the disease. So according to the CDC as well, areas with like more dense of mosquitoes are actually highly monitored by the CDC as well, and also educated the public as well a lot more about the prevention that should be taken care of. And I also include like community awareness, development of vaccines, and accessibility to healthcare, as all those are important for the future outlooks. And then treatment right here. So the Zika virus doesn't actually have a current antiviral therapy or treatment, as it still is under development and research as well. But there is actually symptomatic treatments that kind of temporarily help with the symptoms, which is acetaminophen, hydration, and sleep. Sleep and resting is actually very vital for the recovery of Zika, so it prevents like fatigue or like any of the body aches. And then pregnant women are also at very high risk for the complications, so like very closely like monitoring for like fetal development, more especially, so the infection, like so we could possibly prevent the infection of like microcephaly and the virus as well, which is why I included like the hospitalization. And then major metabolic pathways. So right here, manipulation of like a host cell pathway like cell cycles. So the Zika virus does undergo a virus envelope protein host cell entry, where like the envelope, the glycoproteins like mediate like the viral attachment and membrane fusion with the host cells of the organisms. And so then that mechanism would then bind to like a cell's surface receptor on the skin, like fibroblasts, progenitor, and like dendritic cells, and will then like facilitate like fusion and act as like an efficient entry into the target cells. And the replication and like spread mechanism travels through like the bloodstream and can ultimately affect like the brain and placenta and like reproductive organs. And then here's like the pathogenesis that I included for the virus as well. So we have like viral entry and inoculation. So the virus is actually primarily attacks like the specific tissues, cells, and like organ systems in the human body. And it also helps explain like the symptoms and complications of the virus itself. And then skin cells like the keratinocytes and monocytes are all like the first cells to be infected right after the bite of the mosquito, actually. And then dendritic cells are the immune cells in the skin and the lymph nodes that help spread the virus throughout the body. And then we then have the monocytes, which are also part of the immune system as well. And the Zika virus can replicate them within them, which will help evade like the immune system. and the virus may affect like other body systems, obviously, such as I included that over here, like other body systems like the brain, eye, muscle joints, liver, and like the spleen. And then here's some of the pathology. So I want to include this as well because Zika virus does primarily infect like skin and immune cells before spreading through the bloodstream, and then obviously to the nervous system as well, and also like other organs as well, like placenta and other organs. And a strong tendency to infect neural progenitor cells leads to like impairment of like the brain development or like eye development, or especially like in fetuses as well, causing like the conditions of like microcephaly, and also like congenital Zika virus syndrome as well. And the virus also damages like placenta tissue, triggers inflammation, and occasionally causes like neurological complications. And like how I include right here, like muscles, joints, eyes, liver, and spleen, and like a neurological, like any neurological complications, like the Guillain-Barré syndrome as well. And then here's the immune response. So I include like the innate immune response and adaptive. So I have the PRRs activation, interferon response, inflammatory cytokine, and natural killer cells. So it begins with the innate defenses, where the cells like detect the viral RNA and produces the interferon response. Yeah, the interferon response and the inflammatory cytokines, which then will activate the natural killer cells to limit like any of the early infections. And as the adaptive immune response develops, B cells generate like neutralizing antibodies, while the CD4 plus and the CD8 plus, those T cells respond or coordinate to like viral clearances and destroy any of the infected cells. And both of them working together, they both respond to control the infection and just kind of help evade some of like the interferon pathways. And then right here, I have the incidence, prevalence, and outbreaks. So United States in 2016, just the United States alone, we have about 5,168 confirmed cases, and a total cases worldwide of 273,904 cases, which is 131 cases per 100,000 population in America's region. And a subpopulation of high concerns with pregnant women and tropical and subtropical regions, as I said before. And as I said before in my population slide, as of 2025, there are actually no current cases of Zika virus since the 2018. And then prevention, actually, according to the CDC, we have repellents, nets, clothes, and travel advisors, which are all circumstances of prevention and like controls that we can take as a community to prevent this the spread. And then here's some risk population as well. So like what I said before, just like a lot of like the subtropical and tropical regions, that's what I kind of include. So like just any dense populations of the mosquitoes. And then pregnant women are obviously very vulnerable to this virus as well, where it can cause deformations like microcephaly, brain damage, eye and joint abnormalities. And then here's some notable strains as well, mainly affecting African and Asian lineages. The African lineages, which is original and generally associated with like milder and localized infections, while Asian lineages are spread widely across like Asia and like the Pacific and later on to the Americas as well. And then research efforts as well being made. There's actually no vaccine, as we know, and there's scientists that are still researching for hopeful results for better treatments, and then current genome sequencing researches, which is they're just basically researching about like the mutations of the disease as well. And that is the end of my presentation.